It's like an hour run to get here. He told me he was in Philly. I thought he was by the Rocky Stairs and the statue. Jim! What's up, bud? You ready for this?
Come on in here.
The ultimate Spartan.
We are here at Amy Farm in Pittsfield for Spartan Up Podcast. We are 4 lawyers, and we are going to, well, we're not lawyers. Johnny's a doctor.
I'm not even a doctor, actually. This is fantastic.
Johnny's a doctor. Sever is a rewilding expert. We'll
Probably
explain
not
that
an
later.
expert, no.
Colonel Knight is...
I used to be.
Used to be a colonel.
I'm a used to be.
So basically, we're not lawyers. We're pretty much not much of anything. But
But we're here.
You know what I'd argue we are? We're people who are able to look at these great interviews and draw from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to learn something ourselves from this next interview. This is Jimmy Binns. You guys are going to love him. I know him about 20 years. He's a lawyer. He's licensed, unlike many lawyers, in about 35 states. Speaks Latin. I asked him why. He said, well, I thought it would be something that I'd learn.
I hope when you asked him why, he answered ergo, because I think that means therefore.
Which is different than
He's a
argo.
little bit eccentric. I remember checking out his closet in his house, and he had 9 suits lined up. Each one was a bright, different color. He had the same matching holster, the same matching gun to go with each suit, shoes, socks, underwear. He's a character. You guys are going to like this.
Looking forward to it.
Joe DeSena here, Spartan Up Podcast. We are sitting with Jimmy Binns, the attorney, police officer, boxer, marathoner, and we're going to find out what else. Let's talk to Jimmy. So Jim, Spartan believes in grit. And what I mean by that is the ability to stay focused even when things aren't going well. You've been, you went through law school, which is pretty difficult. How many years?
Law school is 3 years.
You did 3 years of law school, so obviously you did college. So you did 7 years of college. And that was what year?
Well, no, I mean, college is only 4 years.
Right, so 4 and then
4
3.
years of college, but then I got a master's degree, that's another 2 years, and then I got a law school degree, which is another 3 years.
So you did 9 years.
And then I graduated from the police academy, which is another year.
You did more college than most mobsters do jail.
Well, I don't know. It all depends if the mobsters got me, they don't do jail.
That's right, there you go. So you graduate college, you go on to become a lawyer, but that wasn't enough. You then become barred in 20 states.
Yes.
Typical lawyer becomes barred in 1 state.
But I didn't view that as something that I had to do because I had to do something. For me, it was just something that I wanted to do because it was there to do. Just like you do with regard to your athletic endeavors and what you did with regard to your business endeavors and still do. I don't know, I guess it's just some kind of a gene that we have.
So it was a challenge. What's it take to, you decide, I'm going to pick a state and I'm going to take the bar exam. How much studying is that? How much work is that?
Well, what I did after I took my first bar examination back in 1964, it occurred to me that I should be admitted to the bar in some other states that are close to or contiguous to Pennsylvania. So I did New Jersey, and I just what I ended up doing was that I purchased the tapes, the videotapes that were given for the cram courses, and I would just listen to them mostly while I was going to sleep.
Really?
Yes.
And you knocked out 20 in a couple of years, or?
Well, when I really had to start to get involved with getting licensed in states is when I started to represent the World Boxing Association in the 80s. Because then I used to try cases up in Massachusetts against Marvin Hagler, in Florida against Don King, all over the United States, and a lot of them in Las Vegas, Nevada, because there was a lot of boxing. Well, there still is, but there was a lot of boxing there.
You were a boxer?
In college age, not in college, but in college age, I used to fight out of a gym right down here in South Philadelphia, the most famous gym in the world, called the Passyunk Gym. Sonny Liston trained there, Joey Giardello trained there. It was the mecca of boxing in the world.
In Philly?
Not just in Philly. This was more famous than the Fifth Street Gym of Angelo in Miami, Florida. Trust me. So you could walk in there any day of the week and see gym wars that would far exceed anything you would see these days on HBO. Gym wars, I'm talking about. You have a little kid walk in there, 16 years old, 15 years old, take off his beanie, put his books down on the table, and out of another guy who was a professional fighter.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you got excited at what age?
Played like 18 years old.
You had no experience boxing, just walked into the gym.
Yeah, and I learned. I started out slow, and when you learn how to fight, you for 6 months do nothing but throw a left jab, boom, boom, boom. That's it. They don't let you do anything else, and then you do it in the mirror, and then little by little you do it on a heavy bag, and then pretty soon you're boxing, and then after that you're boxing every day, and you learn a lot quickly.
So
I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. Incidentally, that's how I ended up like I am.
So because of the head punches.
Yeah.
So obviously you're driven. Evidently you're driven. You wake up in the morning. Give me a routine. You wake up, your eyes.
I wake up usually, I would say 5 o'clock or so, and I have my iPad there, and I start checking my emails.
So 5 a.m. You're up. You're checking emails.
I'm moving around this and that. I'm watching TV.
But this, what we're talking about is before email even existed.
Oh yeah. Well, it was just probably something that you experienced the same way. I mean, you just want to be. It's kind of a trite phrase. They use it on television. You want to be all you can be. Right. You don't want to be defined by anybody but yourself.
Right. You wake up and you want to get it done.
Yeah.
And so you become a lawyer. You get barred in 20 states. You're a boxer at this point.
It's probably due to Sister Mary Joseph, who taught me in like 2nd grade that, I don't know, the nuns were tough when I was a kid coming up, and you had to do what you had to do. And all of a sudden, I felt this urge to excel in grammar school. And then I lost it for a little bit in high school and was, wandering. But then when I got into college, the light bulb went back on, and I graduated magna cum laude and got a scholarship to law school. And then I became such an academic person, but at the same time I was an academic person, I was actually fighting. I was a straight A student.
And fighting.
I was boxing every day.
And probably working.
Yeah, I used to work part-time at an accounting firm. That was my major in college, accounting. I got a job at one of those large accounting firms. And then at the last minute before I walked in the door, I decided I was too young to work. So I took a test and I got a scholarship to Villanova Law School. So I went to law school. But I was still going to be a tax lawyer. And when I got out of law school, I actually got a job as a tax lawyer. And I ended up in a firm where I worked for about 3 weeks. And I said, I can't be a tax lawyer. So I used to go around to all the lawyers in the law firm and say, what's your least favorite case? And they would give me the case and I would take it and I would try it. And I started to win these cases one right after the other.
And litigation's a little bit like boxing, right?
It's everything like boxing, yeah.
So it probably felt natural to you.
At least for me it is.
So there's 4 million plus Spartans out there that are potentially watching this. And they ask me the same question, Joe, how do you stay motivated? Clearly you're super motivated, right? You wake up early, whether it's watching emails or going to the boxing gym or studying to be a lawyer. What is it? Is it in the DNA? What could we recommend to people to light that fire and just get shit done in life?
Well, what I would recommend to these people is that they meet you. Because if they meet you, they could become almost as crazy as you are. Right? You have to remember, I remember when this journey started for you, when you were up at 40 Wall Street, and you used to take me to the gym, and I had been in more gyms in my life than you'll ever be for the rest of your life, but I used to have to go with you so you could walk on the treadmill, which I didn't quite get, but I figured, well, he's a nice guy, and I'm having fun with him, and I'm representing him, and we know a lot of people, and so if I was a young person and wanted to become motivated, there's no better way to do it than to just meet you and listen to you, because first of all, it's a lot of fun, and second of all, they'll catch it. It is contagious. I think that if you're around people that are motivated, then you're either going to drop all the way out or you're going to become motivated yourself.
That's an interesting point, because I think that's right. I think with Spartan Race, what we say is whether it's Spartan Race, a marathon or triathlon, whatever, you start to have new friends that are motivated, that wake up early, that don't have that glass of wine at night, right? That just get stuff done in life. So I think you're right. I think if you surround yourself by people that get stuff done, you tend to or drop off.
Yeah, or you're either you're gonna make a choice. Like for instance, in today, like if I have a choice of sitting here talking to you or going getting whacked on with a glass of wine or something, I'm not going to go near that. I mean, to tell you the truth, the problem is that you become more or less of a isolated person, and you only want to deal with the people who are in the same motivational spirit that you are. You don't have time to waste with people who think it's important to distinguish between different types of Bordeaux at dinner or anything like that. Walk in, eat as much healthy food as you can, and get out and do something. Right. And if you want to talk for a while with a guy like you, or not just you, I mean, but anybody else who has something interesting to say, you're going to do it. But the only thing that's going to interest you once you become motivated is what motivates this guy, and why should he be more motivated than I am? I mean, for me, it's no longer a competition because I'm on my own little string now, I mean, I'm just about to start at the lowest echelon of a police department as a rookie.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
So you become a lawyer, you're a boxer. Then you go on to build a successful business. You got a big law firm for 20 years probably. You ran that, right?
More than that. It's 50 now.
50 years.
Yeah. I graduated from law school in '64, so at this year is my 50th anniversary from graduation. And
no need to work again, and you decide to...
Well, that's what you say, but I have to work.
No, you have to work because the same reason I have to work. You're driven.
Right.
But you don't need to work for the money.
But not for financial
Not financially. No. So it wasn't enough. You want to become a police officer at 73.
74.
At 74. You want to become a police officer.
Well, here's what happened. I became friendly with this cop in the local police district who used to have to come down there on the weekends and all. So we used to drink coffee every morning. One day he pointed out the window and he said, "Oh, when I come on the job the night Danny Faulkner got killed, his head was lying right there." Now, that's a famous case. Danny Faulkner was a cop who was 25 years old, and he was shot and killed by a person named Mumia Abdul-Jamal. It's a famous, famous case. Everybody in the whole world knows about it. And so it was a very controversial case. So I don't know why, but I just got an idea instantaneously, and I knew somebody who knew the widow. Now, this is 20 years after the fact. But I didn't even know what year he got killed, So I called this lady living in California, and I introduced myself, and I said, "I happen to own a restaurant where your husband got murdered, and I had a thought that we should put a plaque there to commemorate his service. Nobody else's name will be on it." I said, "But I wouldn't do that unless you told me I was allowed to do it." She said, "I would love you to do that. If you do that, I'll come back when you do it." So that was the first plaque that I ever did. 2 weeks ago, I dedicated my 266th plaque in memory of Deputy Sheriff Roy Fortson, who was killed in the line of duty in 1982 on November the 13th, and that sits up in front of the Criminal Justice Center. I put them in right where they got killed. So that was the plaque program that got me started knowing cops. I mean, the only cops I knew before I dedicated that plaque were the ones that I was cross-examining, representing some mutt who they arrested.
Right.
So then I became friendly with more cops. Because the plaques, I would see them. I mean, the cops come out in droves for these plaque dedications. So then in 2003, I bought the 100th anniversary of the Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And I didn't even know how to start it, but I thought it was so pretty, I ought to own it. But fortunately, I was smart enough to put it in a barn. I never touched it. Until about 2007 or 8, I met an inspector who was the commander of the highway patrol. So I told him about this motorcycle I own, and did I think that his motorcycle guys could teach me how to ride it, highway patrol, people who teach highway patrol officers. So he said, "Yeah, come on up." So he took me up, he introduced me to these guys, and they started to teach me how to ride a motorcycle. But then I thought, well, I want to really learn. So then I took that test and I got my wings. I went through the 80-hour course and became a certified motorcycle police officer. For the highway patrol, but I wasn't a police officer.
I remember a year or two ago I'd say, "Joe, I'm going to become a police officer," and I'm thinking he's really lost his mind now.
Yeah.
Because who becomes a police officer at 74 years old?
Only a crazy person.
Is there anybody ever?
No.
No one.
Of course not. So anyway, I asked somebody how I should do it, and they told me I could go to this police academy that's run by the state police here in Pennsylvania. So, pardon me. So I applied, and then I received the papers back to say you have to take a physical on such and such a date, September the 15th, and you have to take a psychological on September the 22nd. So like 7 days later.
But they figured there's no way.
Well, they didn't know anything about me.
Oh, they didn't know your age. They just sent you the packet.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so I called the man that was the director of the school. He's a former state trooper. And so I said, Director Davis, I'm aspiring to become a cadet in the police academy, and I've got my papers, and I have no difficulty with the date for the physical examination, but I said the psychological examination conflicts with an event that I run each year called the Hero Thrill Show. Well, obviously, he's going to know what the Hero Thrill Show is. He's a cop. So he said on the phone, he said, well, if you don't mind me asking you, Mr. Binns, how old are you, sir? And I said, I'm 72. And he said, oh, he said, this is going to be a little tough. He said, but there's a very vigorous and rigorous program. And I said, yeah, I know, I'll probably come out first. And he laughed out loud on the phone. He said, well, don't worry about the psychological. We have them all the time. I said, all right. So he later told me that he told the guys that were giving the physical, he said, don't worry, you'll blow this guy right out, but we're going to do it for him anyway. So I went out, and I had to do a certain number of bench presses with a certain weight, and I had to do a certain number of sit-ups that were timed, and then I had to run 1.5 miles in a certain number of minutes.
At 72?
At 72, 73 by then. It was 73. So
I remember you were calling me. You said, hey, listen, I got to get a little faster on the mile.
I asked you, can I put weights in that thing?
Yeah.
So anyway, I went out there, and so the first thing they did was they said, Mr. Binns, come to the front of the line. They say, you go first. I figured that it would blow me out early. That would make it easy for them. So there's 2 state troopers on either side of the bench. And they said, okay, would you like us to put all the weight on? Or I said, put it all on. So I went in and I just, boom. Because I know how to do bench presses. So they were like, so then they went so then we go into this other room, aerobics room, to do the sit-ups. So the way you do it is like if you and I are in line, you get down, I hold your feet, and you do yours, and then you hold my feet, and I do mine. Well, unfortunately, the kid in front of me got to the last sit-up, and he couldn't do it. He didn't make it. They blew him out. They said, go home. You can't do it. They said, before you go home, hold this guy's feet. It's me. So when I got to it was only like my 8th sit-up. I'm boom, boom, because I trained all summer for it. So, I mean, I knew when I went out there, I wasn't going out there to fail.
State trooper the state trooper is watching you to make sure you're not cheating. To
make sure that, because, they don't want, you're not allowed to kip your back or anything.
But they weren't checking other people, they're checking you.
Well, they were checking everybody, but not as close as they were checking me. He actually got down on the mat to make sure there wasn't, any room between
because they didn't want a 72 or 3-year-old.
I think a part of it was that they didn't want people thinking that anybody can walk in there and just go through the police academy.
Right.
Because
but you had trained all summer.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very vigorous and rigorous program. Ain't nobody walking in there and completing it. Trust me, unless you really are motivated.
Sure.
But then I started to matriculate and fast forward through, they appointed me class lieutenant. So I'm the class leader. I call the roll, I lead them in the Pledge of Allegiance, I command everybody. If they get out of line, I give them demerits, bam. And so during the course of the matriculation, I never missed one class. Now, I went for a year. I had to go at night, so I went for 1 year. I never missed one academic class. I missed a PT class when I had to go to Washington the night to read the names of the Pennsylvania officers that go onto the wall down in Washington each year at the Candlelight Vigil during Police Week. But I never missed an academic class. I took 22 tests, and I graduated with a 98.4 grade point average for those 22 tests and received the academic award plus the all-around Delaware County Police Chiefs Award for academics, physical fitness, ethics, and leadership.
So I'm looking for a theme here, not just for me, but for the Spartans. 1, hang out with motivated people. 2, it looks like you always get ahead. Like that summer before you applied,
I trained for the whole
you trained
summer.
all summer. Most people would say, you know what, I'll get serious.
Yeah,
in the
a lot
fall,
of kids did. I saw kids drop like flies.
Yeah.
I saw them drop like flies on everything, on the bench press, on the sit-ups, and especially on the running.
Because they didn't prepare.
Yeah,
right? They weren't willing to put the time in.
No,
right?
You got to pay the price for anything. For anything that you're going to get in life, it's a fight. And if you're not prepared to pay the price, you're not going to get there.
You're not going to get there.
You're going to be second best always.
Right. And same thing with legal, right?
Of course, preparation is everything. Anybody can walk into a courtroom and start talking to people and this and that. But if you don't prepare, and if you don't know what the documents are, and if you don't know what the guy has to say in answer to your questions, you're deader than Kelsey's nuts. That's an old phrase. That's an old time phrase.
Deader than Kelsey's nuts.
Deader than Kelsey's nuts.
So, any other advice you want to give?
No, I mean, I think that the mantra for a Spartan is that once you sign up and once you get involved, you have to be prepared to do whatever it takes to finish.
We like to say you'll know at the finish line.
That's it. You won't know until.
Right.
Nobody ever does.
Right.
That's what's so great about the finish line. If there wasn't a finish line there, you'd never know.
I love to ask whoever we're interviewing what their favorite exercise is. Richard Branson said it was playing tennis. Our CEO friend from Kodak said he just loves running on a treadmill. What's your favorite exercise?
My favorite exercise is hitting a speed bag. It's a peanut speed bag. It's very fast. It's very difficult to master, and I mastered it in about 1958, and I haven't quit since.
And you got one at the house, and
I got one right downstairs.
Nice.
Did I tell you, is this guy nuts or what? In a good way.
Yeah.
Why is he a good friend of yours?
Yeah. We became good buddies over the years, 20 years to be exact. And he just gets it done. Like, he just puts his head down and pushes forward. And no matter what the task is, amazing lawyer, right? Clearly successful there. Was Don King's attorney up against Tyson. Crushed it there. Got licensed in 35 states, as I mentioned earlier. And then he starts this thing out of nowhere. He bought a restaurant. Well, he didn't buy it, as you guys saw with this interview. And he ends up giving away plaques, as you heard, to all these fallen police officers. Yeah. And then he decides that from there he's going to become a cop. Is that unbelievable?
70 plus years old.
70 plus years old. I mean, who does that?
Well, you know what's funny? We're meeting people who do that. And what I mean by that is, everyone talks about not having enough hours in the day. You met Richard Branson, who's got 200 companies. Winter Vanecki at 16 is a world-class ski jumper, and she's done 7 marathons in 7 continents. It's unbelievable what can get done when you're not sitting around making excuses. Here's a guy who, while everyone else is ramping down, you know what I mean? They've paid their dues. They've been successful time just to reap the rewards of playing golf.
Watch TV.
Yeah. Here's a guy who says, no, I'm going to keep living. And I love that he says he surrounds himself with like-minded people who drive him forward. And just really a big possibility thinker. It's not... why can't I do it? He just says, I can do it. So tell me about...
Well, should we look at the positive of a 72-year-old crushing the physical exam?
Sure, we should.
Or should we be looking at the negative of all the young guys that got beat by a 72-year-old and say, what the hell is going on here?
I think we should... go ahead.
No, I'd say a little bit of both. I think what we're learning from almost all of these interviews is that the positivity factor. If you remain positive and then you keep moving forward. I think what Spartan's all about is trying to get all those people to that point. So I think the problem of society's ills, society's problems have been identified, by many people. But you've done something about it as well to try to, as we said the other day, rip people off the couches and get them out there. So I think it's recognized that there's an issue. He's at 72 taking a physical test that 20, 30-year-olds failed. They failed because they didn't have the preparation, and above and beyond the physical, they didn't mentally prepare for it.
Yeah.
It's an obstacle that they took lightly. They didn't view it as a challenge, and therefore they weren't prepared for it.
I really like what you just said there. You're talking about like positivity almost as a mental obstacle.
You're gonna tie this into a tree or a branch or something.
I was thinking about it. But I mean, more simply than that, I don't think we've ever said it outright, but like training in life or training to be a Spartan, I think maybe if you find yourself being negative or something, you say, just like you're doing burpees or doing reps, like put it into your practice and train, make yourself be positive 5 or 6 times a day, and just see if that changes your brain patterning and what happens. I mean, it seems really to be a recurrent theme. So I think there's something to that.
Big time, it's a recurring theme.
Yeah.
All these successful people that we're listening to, they are waking up the exact same. Actually, they're not. They're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which most people aren't. Right. But when we look at and we talk about society, how it currently is, and we talked about that with the farming issue a little while ago, and absolutely, in a lot of ways, we're way down our road. It's not the right road, the wrong road. It's just the road we went down. But what we're identifying is sitting on the couch, sitting in your car, eating processed foods, is going to lead to an outcome. And that outcome is probably going to be not being healthy, not being able to go out and do incredible things when you're older. And so these people that we're looking at, they're just doing something differently. And that's, I really think, the point of these podcasts is to figure out what that different thing is. You've said that once we have 500 podcasts, we can probably distill the answer, right? And
it'll be a pill. You'll take the Spartan pill. It'll be like a fortune cookie. You open it up and it says, "Get moving, motherfucker."
Well, but but that get moving, that's huge. Here's a guy at 72 out there crushing this physical fitness test. He stayed busy, and we've talked about that before with wrestling, with the military, with whatever. Keep moving, keep moving. And we have this terrible idea in our society that once you hit 50, 60, you don't have to anymore. You've paid your dues. Slow down. Take it easy. Enjoy those golden years. There's a great book called Younger Next Year that I really, really like that talks about the idea of stay busy, stay moving, stay physically fit, keep putting good fuel in your body, and keep yourself surrounded by other like-minded people. Because when you retire and you go and meet with all the other retirees to have breakfast and talk about what you're going to do that day, which is maybe golf, it's a pretty steep slope at that point.
Yeah. And sorry, but just quickly, as my brother always says, physicality stimulates creativity and innovation. And the more you're being physical and the more you're getting out there to do that, the more things are coming to you,
Oh, I think you're right. But the other common thread in this interview also goes back again to community. Not only did he go out and get a job at 72, but he got a job, again, as being part of a community that he had grown from his already community awareness by giving the plaques and doing fundraisers for policemen. So here's a guy, once again, who we're talking about what he's done individually. He's probably the kind of guy that would like if we talked about what the community at large has done or the organization has done, because he's another guy kind of putting the greater good before himself.
And huge strength in numbers there. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's here's a forest analogy for you on that. So it's like, when you have a positive functioning ecosystem, like sometimes when you're building a food forest or something like that, your ultimate goal when you're building that guild of plants and in a forest is to have it be self-maintaining, self-perpetuating, and self-regulating, right? And the way that you make an ecosystem that is like that is you're respecting your elders, you're respecting your youth. Everyone's watching out for each other, and that's what makes a really strong ecology, really.
Yeah. So a social ecology here. It's not just with that one person. Cool.
Yeah.
Done.
It pays to have a rewilding expert
Absolutely.
on the panel.
Absolutely.
It makes you see things from a whole new perspective.
Love it.
Welcome to my brain.
It does. right down there in the dirt.
If you want to see more about Sephra's brain, as well as more great podcasts, it's SpartanUpPodcast.com. There you're going to find our notes, our reflections on this episode, but you're also going to find links to all the other episodes. We've interviewed Joe, you've interviewed some incredible people, and we just keep drawing out these nuggets of wisdom from them. So you're going to find lots there. And
but the big thing that you didn't touch on is when you go to the website, you're going to learn about Colonel Nya's interactive corner on the website where you can contact him, members of his family.
That's not happening.
And you'll see my entire wall of medical degrees. Will be fantastic.
You're going to enjoy it. See you next time.
Foraged items.
The Spartan Up podcast is brought to you by Spartan Race Incorporated. To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com. Interviews were conducted by Joe DeSena with help in the UK from Del Grismo, video and audio production by Marion Abrams, with audio post-production by Aaron Moore. Thank you for listening to another epic story of success, and don't forget to visit SpartanUpPodcast.com to find videos of every episode along with notes and lessons.